Well, good evening, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. You know, it's funny. I've been having a ball on Twitter. You know that? See, I usually just kind of tweet and run. Or usually when I upload my videos to Vimeo, it just kind of sends out a tweet saying, I just uploaded a video and things, and didn't really interact with it too much. It's kind of like Facebook. I kind of, Vimeo uploads my video to Facebook, and then the trolls just have at it like a pack of ravaging dogs. Dak, we hate Dak. Dak sucks. Blah, 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 blah. You know how it is. They just feed on it, and I don't really, go in it as much as I should. I just don't have enough time. But I got on the Twitter, and I've been dealing with some of these trolls and stuff. I've been twisting and turning with some of them and things, and just kind of going at it a little bit. And the nice thing is I got a whole lot more followers and stuff. Got a lot more people that hate me as usual, but they say if you don't have people that don't like you, you're not doing what you're supposed to with social media. And it's funny because I got this one guy who's going crazy, just tweeting and tweeting and tweeting and tweeting, and he's looking for me to respond. And he's even going after Joe Boo. He's like, who should listen to a guy that goes around with a teddy bear and a voodoo doll? And it's like, you know what? The reason you remember me is because of this voodoo doll. And quite frankly, when you have the NFL Man of the Year who actually asked, hey, man, where's Joe Boo, my buddy? When you have a Charles Haley who has it as his Facebook profile picture, you kind of feel pretty good. I don't mind it at all. Because when you meet me with this voodoo doll, you never forget. I'm going to be honest. You never forget whether you think I'm crazy or you think it's cool. You never forget. Maybe you ought to try that, buddy. Maybe some people would actually comment on your tweets. But anyway, it is that time of year where teams have dreams of being good the following year. Where teams start trying to purge the roster of where they spent money in the past in free agency and say, you know what, we need to save some money so we can get back in there again. It's an addiction on free agency. See, the Redskins are about like crack addicts. The Redskins, they go through every year and they end up being the offseason champions. They always like to make the biggest splash than everybody else. And yet every year they go through and they, the guy they just paid 2-3 years ago, they cutting now, and then they're getting this year's guy. Always making you think it's going to be the one that's going to get them over the top. And this is where you see a lot of veteran players who got big money 2 years before, now are cap casualties, leaving behind dead money. And this is an opportunity where you might be able to pick up somebody who's on the rebound. See, this is what New England does. See, New England does this better than anybody else. What they do is they take a guy who maybe he was a big name free agent and they may have had a bad, year or two or whatever, and they sell them on resurrecting their career. Hey, you come to New England, you got a chance to get a Super Bowl ring. You come here, play real well, you'll be able to get another contract elsewhere. And so they bring them in, they play real well in their system, they leave, and they get a compensatory pick. That's what they do. Bill Belichick is a genius in coaching, but make no mistake about it, you got to have the horses in the race. And the way you get horses in the race is by having more draft picks than anybody else. Think about it. The year before they won the Super Bowl, they still had 12 draft picks. Whereas teams like the Rams, they don't have a number one pick the next 2 years. They've been gone through free agency and trades and everything else trying to get themselves together. They trade for Jalen Ramsey, and they're already in cap hell, and that guy's going to want to get paid. And you can't replenish yourself through the draft because you gave up the draft picks. So you have to then restructure and keep signing other free agents. And it's a cycle that you get caught in and you can't get out of it. It's a spin cycle. So one of these guys that just got released by the Detroit Lions, Snacks Harrison. Oh my goodness. No, okay. I get this. Snacks Harrison is 31 years old. He's not a young, spry dude anymore. And quite frankly, he may be too old. But here's the thing. Now, he had a salary cap number of like $11.5 million. He's 31. You just left the Detroit Lions. Here's the thing. He's my kind of guy. He's a nose tackle. Okay, see, back in my day, I was a nose guard. We called it something different, but it's the same thing. It's the guy that lines up over the center. It's the big fat guy. And look at this. Look at this. See, look, this is what I'm talking about. This. Oh, let's bring this in a little closer here. This belly. 350 pounds of snacks in the middle. Even though he was 31 years old. But just look at that. Look at that. 31 years old. You know that guy still had 49 tackles. 3 of them tackles for loss. And 2 sacks. Now, his career he only has 11 sacks, and I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, only 11 sacks, that's all he gets? See, understand, here's what you have to understand, okay? I'm not saying that he is the guy, but if you can get him for a reasonable rate, say, hey, Snacks, listen, you've been with the Giants. You've been with the Lions. Come to the light. Put a star on your helmet. Let's resurrect that career. Let's put you in the middle. Because see, what that guy right there is supposed to be doing, he's not the guy that gets the glitz and the glamour. He's not the guy that makes all the tackles. Although 49 tackles from a nose tackle is a lot of tackles. His job right here is one thing. To clog the middle. To take on the double team and be able to drop his fat behind his anchor and hold up. To be able to get a little push in the middle, so that way that quarterback is sitting there looking at his knees saying, I don't want a guy who's 350 pounds falling on my knees. Keeping the quarterback from being able to step up, so that way your D-Law, your Robert Quinn, if he's still going to be here, or whoever's going to be here, can get up to there. The walls close in like a trash compactor. See, this is the problem for the Dallas Cowboys. From the time the Rams game happened in the playoffs, that's when the book opened up and they realized how to stop the defense. Because we've got those tackles outside, there's no man really over the center. That's our soft underbelly. We gave up 4.6 yards per carry up the middle over the center. That was where they could go right on up there. You get the double team with the guard in the center, pushing out the tackle. Guys that were about 300 pounds. See, the Cowboys' philosophy has been, we like guys that are like 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and that are lean, that are like 260, 270, 280, that are fast. Because what we're going to do is we're going to, right now, stunts. We're going to twist. We're going to X-stunt. We're going to move them around. We're going to run circles around the offensive linemen. And what the Rams did to us, as much as you want to play Dak Prescott, you have to understand they rushed for over 200 yards. It wasn't Jared Goff passing. They ran it right down our throats. They put a hat on a hat and they just went straight ahead. Old-time football. And we did not have the guy who could drop the anchor up the middle, and we got gutted. And teams followed that this year. Now, we might be changing up defenses. Where basically now you got 3 defensive linemen and 2 defensive ends. In my day, we called it a 50 defense. Okay, again, I'm old, okay? That was back in the 80s. But with that 5-man front, basically, because your outside linebackers are really edge rushers. But let's be honest, they're not really like linebackers. They're really edge rushers. You got those 3 guys in the middle that can put that pressure on them. And I think we're going to slowly be evolving to that. Because that, my friends, is the problem. But understand what his job is, okay? Besides looking pretty. He doesn't look pretty. To me, he looked pretty. He looked pretty because you put him up there. Oh, you put him up over the center, he gonna look pretty because he looks big. He looks massive. He is literally 2 feet away from the quarterback when he's under center. That's pretty. His job is to occupy space and tie up the offensive lineman. If he can do his job that way, he don't have to make the tackles. No, 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 no. He doesn't have to make the tackles. He keeps the linebackers free. You get those linebackers now under Mike Nolan playing downhill like, say, at Demario Davis in New Orleans. With a fat guy like that pushing up the middle, they're scraping. Boom. Makes all the difference in the world. If you can get a friendly deal from him for a year or two, I'd take it. I would take that. Because now that leaves you with more options in the draft. Now you can start looking and saying, we can take the best player on the defense available, be it a defensive lineman, be it a safety, although I think you can get a great safety in the second round, or be it a game-changing cornerback. Maybe if you sign a guy like this, then you can gamble a little more and say, we're going to reach for a guy. But that's my thoughts. To me, this gives you options. What the Cowboys actually did last year, although it didn't work out in the draft, what they did was they went through and they said, we got a need at running back, we got a need at receiver, we got a need on the defensive line, we have a need at safety. And they went through and they went ahead and they got Randall Cobb. Take care of that one. They got Robert Quinn on the defensive line. They ended up bringing in a couple, oh God, I can't even think right now. A couple other defensive linemen, and they systematically said, let's take care of each of these holes. So by the time they got to the draft, they could look at it and say, okay, what is the best player available? Now, it ended up being that Tristan Hill was the guy that was drafted, but he has yet to show up. We'll see how that goes. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that, but I love the pretty fat guy in the middle. I'll see you soon.